welcome to Wrestling Revelations. I'm Mike Brennan here with Kyle Fitta.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Yourself?
I'm alright. Anyway, we're here to talk about John Cena and the way his character's been developed, and why, honestly, we're just pretty much sick of the guy. Aren't we, Kyle?
I appreciate what he does for the business. I think he's a hard worker. But it comes a time where you just have to drop down a step or two, let's say, or at least evolve your character a little. And I just don't think we've seen that from him at all.
Right, I agree with you there. The character development for him hasn't really been there. The fact remains, though, he's been in WWE how long now? Like 7 years or so? Probably longer than that,
On
right?
the top, he's been there for 7 years.
Right, feels like 12. Anyway, the guy's been the same damn gimmick since he really made it to the top. Sure, he had his rapping gimmick and he was the heel for a little while, but then he just coasted and destroyed everybody in his path. And he can only do that for so long.
Well, back in 2006, he was sort of portraying a character that had a little more intensity, cared a little bit more. But ever since this revelation of the PG era, he's been more outgoing, non-caring, and to be honest, it detriments everything that he doesn't care about. For instance, if he's about to face a heel wrestler and the heel wrestler beats him for the title, and he comes out and says, "Oh well, shit happens." Like, it's not giving the heel any credit for beating him. Also, it's not putting the title as something that's prestigious. It's like, whatever, I'll win it again. Let's tell shitty jokes.
Right, and that's exactly what happens. He loses the title, he gets a match, he might lose again, and then he gets another match, he might lose again, and then he gets another match, and another, and then finally, it just needs to stop, you know? Because if I watch him every pay-per-view in the main event, and he wins cleanly, or he loses because of some outside interference, some ref bump, something out of his control, it just doesn't add anything to me, and just takes away from everything. There needs to be more to it than that. I can't keep watching the same damn recycled storyline for 7 years.
I mean, we live in an era now where I like to call it the fast food era because it's not the Bruno days or even the Hogan days. We are a very fast-paced society. And to see a guy have virtually the same character for 7 years and be on the top for that long, eventually we're going to get sick of it. And we've already got sick, and a lot of people have already gotten sick of it like 7 years ago. I mean, it's time to evolve the character. It's time to, even if you don't want to turn him heel, which I think they should, and I'll talk about that a little later, add something to it. He's too black and white. I mean, there's no, like, dimensions to his character. It's just like this guy that doesn't even exist anymore. Nobody acts like him in society anymore. It's like this superhero, immortal character. He has no flaws whatsoever. He's goody two-shoes. I mean, nothing bothers him. He smiles, tells jokes, ha ha ha. I mean, how can a babyface get sympathy when he doesn't care?
Right, the biggest problem is the sympathy. The thing that I hate the most is that damn smile, to be honest with you. No matter what it is, the guy just smiles through it, and then he goes to work. It's like he's one of the damn seven dwarves. Honestly, this guy just needs to go away, or change his gimmick, or something. Take some time off. I mean, here's a perfect example. When he won Money in the Bank, the guy tried to mimic Rob Van Dam. Van Dam told the champion ahead of time, who happened to be Cena, shocker there, that he was going to cash in the title in a complete face move. And obviously, you know, Money in the Bank, usually you go attack the guy when he's down, and usually turns into a heel turn. And realistically, that wasn't going to happen with John Cena. But to just do it in this premeditated, boring way that you wouldn't expect anything less from the guy, and now he has to carry the weight of the world because he's the only guy that hasn't won while cashing in Money in the Bank. But everybody's forgotten because no one really cares because he's just going to get another title shot, which he did. It's stupid.
And another thing about him taking time off, he just got off a really compelling match with Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules exactly 1 year ago, which you were attending, right?
True.
Yes. he Brock Lesnar beats the evident shit out of him in the match to the point where I thought they were going to call the match at one point, and that never happens in WWE. That's how well done that match was. So he gets his ass kicked. Okay, Brock Lesnar gets overzealous. He screws up. Cena wins. However, Cena goes into this promo where he's saying he's going to be taking time off and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then it would have been a perfect time to rejuvenate the character, let Cena get away from him a while, let the fans have a break from him. But instead of doing that, they completely ignore the promo, and he's back. Not only is he back, he's feuding with John Laurinaitis, the GM. How retarded is that?
The problem is they don't have anybody to replace him, even in a small amount of time. Sure, you could plug a guy in there, and chances are they'd fail. Because you can't do it like that. You can't feed everybody to John Cena for 7 years and then expect some magical plant to blossom and suddenly you can give that guy the world title. It doesn't work like that. You can't do it. Punk's the only guy that's credible enough to maybe step in for Cena. But that's not going to happen, so what the hell am I talking about?
Because I was going to say, there is actually a guy, and his name's CM Punk, who actually in that year outsold Cena in merchandise. They won't tell you that, but Punk said it, and I believe him. I do. And so what do they do with this guy, CM Punk, who the majority of the fans liked? He didn't get boozed. They didn't have to, what's it called? Take the booze out. What do you call that?
Editing.
You could call it editing. There's another word, but that's beside the point. I mean, people generally like the guy. And, I mean, if you're pushing this PG era, what's a better guy to push than a guy who is legitimately drug-free? That is a good representation of a guy that kids can really look at as a role model, opposed to a guy who's a phony. Cena's character is a phony, and it's nothing to do with him. Maybe a little because he could say, you know what, guys, I've been on top enough. I don't want you to write my promos anymore. I don't think my character is going the right way. So to a degree, it is his fault. But you see where I'm coming from, right?
Right, but to say that he has absolutely no input into stuff, that would be naive. I mean, he's just as much to blame as anybody else.
I mean, I believe he's a total yes man. And he will go with the company no matter what they want. And he's stated that before. That he is honored to work for Vince McMahon, who gave him the opportunity, and he's going to do whatever he wants. Opposed to Punk, who's going to call McMahon out for his bullshit.
Right, I get that. I just find it hard to believe that, there isn't some strings being pulled backstage, especially in, this kind of situation when you're on the top.
I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Cena does do jobs and he puts people over. However, leading up to the match, most of the time, not always, because he gave Punk a lot of credit in their match. Also, The Rock, before the match, even though he won. But it's such a detriment because of his promos that he doesn't take these guys seriously. So when they beat him, it's like, oh well, whatever. Like, who cares? I'll win. It's like they're not even getting their comeuppance for anything that they do to him. And it's just, I don't know.
Right, and then when it's over, it's just over. And nobody cares, and we all move on. And that doesn't make sense to me. Everything that I've learned about wrestling basically disagrees with that. Because, I don't know, like Randy Orton and John Cena, like, they feuded for how long? And now they're like best friends. And John Cena's friends with everybody after their feuds. It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I just think it goes further than John Cena. I mean, if you look at the baby faces in WWE, it's almost with everyone. They play this hollow baby face that's very one-dimensional, very bland, no real characteristics to themselves except smiling, laughing, just not really giving two shits about what the heels do to them, just laugh it off. I mean, if they don't care what the heels do to them, why should we care?
Right, that's That's the exact problem. I mean, John Cena is the prime example because he's always in the spotlight. But you are right. A guy like Sheamus, for example, him laughing just looks wrong. Like when I see his promos and this giant guy with orange hair built like a truck is just giggling and laughing, what the hell? Like, no, go kick someone in the face.
I mean that's definitely a problem. Wherein people started to like Sheamus because he was an ass kicker, so to speak. He no nonsense kind of guy, straightforward, and then they liked the character though, and then they changed the character, and now they start not liking him, and they don't know why. Well, because you changed this character that people were liking as a heel, and you turned him to something that he wasn't.
Right, well, just to play devil's advocate, that's probably why WWE won't change John Cena. Maybe this is the way John Cena, the guy, is. Because he did cut that promo saying that in order to be a bad guy, you have to actually be a bad guy in real life, which is absolutely stupid.
Cheat
It
on
makes
your
no
wife.
sense, especially since he was a heel for, what was it, 2 or 3 years. So were you a bad guy then he turned into a good guy? That's absolutely insane. But maybe WWE is afraid to turn him heel. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that's it. They're afraid to lose the fan base of the kids and maybe some women. It's understandable, honestly.
I believe they think of it as when they turn Austin heel, but I just see this. It's the polar opposite to me, and I'll explain why. Austin essentially invented the Attitude Era. He was everything it stood for. He was the figurehead behind that company. Once he turned heel, it was like the product changed altogether. Cena, on the other hand, is just like, I don't think Cena is a big star without WWE. I think he's just a cash cow that they want on top because he's nice to them, he's yes to them, yes sir, and all that. So what I'm saying is, if Cena left tomorrow, I don't think anything would really change, to be honest. I mean, we saw it with Jeff Hardy. Like, Jeff Hardy was on a huge streak and getting popular kids. Same as Batista. And they left, and what really happened? WWE's making more money now.
Right, but neither one of those guys were number one.
They were
Let's be
close.
honest.
They
They
were
were
close.
close, I'll give you that. But how many guys that were close have TNA brought in and hasn't pushed them to the next level? You mean to tell me if John Cena left WWE and went to TNA, there would be no effect?
I don't think so.
I
Maybe
think that's insane.
maybe a little. Not that much. I really just don't see it.
I think that would change wrestling forever.
I think he's a homegrown talent, and he's only as big as the WWE is.
I don't know, man. I have a hard time believing
Look
that.
at everyone that went to TNA, rather. What did they do for them? What did they do for the company? Absolutely almost nothing. Am I saying he wouldn't make a little impact? Of course. Enough to make this like a Monday Night War? Hell no.
I completely disagree with you there. I think if in the event John Cena were to leave WWE, I'm not saying it would destroy the product, because that's irrational. But it would certainly help TNA. It would change the game.
It
Make
would
it a level playing field, perhaps.
no, not 11. No, not 11 playing
No,
field.
not at all?
No,
Why not?
I just don't see it.
You're
And,
taking the number one guy from a company
and we've seen
and
it,
putting them in the other
but
company.
we've seen it before. Where the,
WCW with Hulk Hogan, and that ended pretty well.
no,
Worked out pretty well.
WCW was a lot bigger than TNA ever was. We've seen these guys from WWE go there time in and time out, and it does hardly anything for them. In fact, they got one of the biggest wrestlers of all time to go there, Hulk Hogan. What did he do? He actually detrimented the company more than helped it.
Oh, come on. You're taking Hogan like 20 years after he should be wrestling.
Hey, he's still popular.
Sure, he's got his cult following and he's got his TV shows and all his other crap. But when it comes down to it, if you're going to go and get a guy like, they got Flair too for a while, and guess what? It didn't do anything. And I get your point. I totally understand where you're coming from. However, if you're going to take guys who can't wrestle at this point and put them in front of an audience, it's not going to work. That's TNA's problem. If you take a guy like Cena, who's been wrestling for however long, a guy who still has plenty miles left on him, and you put him in the spotlight, you could probably get some success out of him. Maybe short term success, but I guarantee you it would be success.
I mean, I'm not denying that they would get more popular. I just don't see it as being a level playing field. They are not even in the same league as the WWE. The numbers prove this. Everything proves this. And they landed a bombshell when they got Jeff Hardy. Because Jeff Hardy was probably the second biggest full time babyface in the company. And he did not affect the ratings one bit. He did not affect the buy rates. Sure, they say he's the number one seller in merchandise, but he didn't affect it that much, to be honest. I mean, what they could have done with Jeff Hardy and what they've done with Jeff Hardy are just two different things. The problem is TNA doesn't know how to utilize talent. They don't know how to do anything right, really, to be honest, in the management system. So I just don't even think they would take advantage of getting Cena.
Alright, if they did it, if they completely screwed up the guy, yeah, they'd probably have some problems. I can see that for sure.
I mean, they had this dream match to do. You had Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe, and a week in the company, they're already doing it. And
Right. That
Angle's
happened a little too quickly.
Angle's beating Joe, and okay, where do we go from here? You just beat the number one guy. So, I mean, that's TNA logic right there. I mean, I digress. I don't want to get into this TNA discussion.
Sure. Anyway, well, what about John Cena turning heel? Let's focus up on that. You were saying that it wouldn't affect wrestling that much. Personally, I think it would usher in a new era
No,
of
I
wrestling.
do believe it would affect wrestling. I think it would, like you said, do that. I don't think it would affect the revenue stream in WWE. I think they could establish a new star and turn while turning Cena heel. People are dying to hate Cena. People are dying to love Punk. I mean, wrestling has told you point in and point out. You listen to what the audience wants.
Right, usually listen to what the audience wants. Unless they're absolutely idiotic and they want a guy like Fandango pushed.
Well, he still generates money, so you might as well push him.
Yeah, but at some point enough's enough. You don't always listen to him. And I'm not too sure you turn Cena heel, at least right now. Because, like I was saying, they don't have anyone to replace him. Except for Punk, who isn't around right now.
And he's heel. I get that. Not the
Right.
right time, but they've had plenty of other opportunities to do it, and they failed to at least try it. And I mean, when you're in a monopoly, I mean, even though I think it would work, why take the risk?
Right, it is a big risk. The thing is, though, who replaces him? We're sick of the character, absolutely. I am, you am, you are, rather. I am, you am. But we're looking for the next John Cena, the next big guy. And that's not Punk. It's not. I like Punk a lot. But I see him as a gap stopper, to be honest with you. How long can he stay on top?
I mean, he's proven people wrong time in and time out who said that about him. I mean, he's generated the most merchandise in 2012. Yeah, 12. I mean, he's the most over heel right now. I mean, I do. I do. I think he hates to hear the analogy, but I think if they were going to go in this direction, and I'm not advocating that they do, I think he's the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. The attributes are there.
Yeah, and I've heard that quite a bit. And I'm just not ready to fully commit, I guess. And apparently WWE isn't either. They're not ready to fully commit to making the guy number one. And maybe that's okay. Maybe you don't need a clear, defined number one. And really, you probably shouldn't. You should probably have several guys that are around 1, 2, 3, 4, and they all kind of mingle with each other, and the rankings change. But it's really one. There's
That's
John Cena, and then there's everybody else.
personal preference. I used to like it when the number one figurehead of the company was a heel and the babyface chased them. I think it just made better TV. Like, for example, Ric Flair back in the old days, opposed to Hulk Hogan, who used to just hog the title and just a boring scene. Every heels try to step up and beat him. I like the chase of the title, so to speak. When the babyface chases it. That's just me.
Right, it does write itself a lot easier. A lot of people draw a lot of comparisons between Hogan and Cena. I mean, both the guys are, well, Hogan was superhuman, and Cena's basically his own superhero himself. And maybe they're right. It's just a little frustrating to see a guy booked like Hogan was probably 10, 20 years after Hogan's wild success. They need to correct it.
Well, to Cena's credit, rather, he's a much better wrestler than Hogan. I'd rather see him in the ring any day over Hogan. And he always delivers when he needs to, for the most part. I mean, the guy, according to Dave Meltzer and many others, he had a 5-star match. I mean, you have to have some merit and credentials in the ring to have a 5-star match. I mean, you can see that he's good in the ring. He's always given 100% effort. He always has energy. What else? He's good at sequencing moves, putting together structured matches, all that good stuff. He's good at that. His selling could be a little better, but I think that's just a portrayal of his character. The guy is good, but we're just sick of him. He's stale. And that's what it just really boils down to. He needs to evolve his character. He needs to start caring more. He needs to give more credit to the heels. And he also needs to, well, anything else, I don't know. I think I mentioned them all, to be honest.
Yeah, there's just certain things that he does that he needs to stop doing. Like, very specific things, honestly. Like, his stupid salute. I mean, I don't know the rules. I was never in the military or anything like that, and I don't plan to be in it. But I'm guessing that's not okay. You know, I'm sure people are offended by it. I'll guarantee you there's some people offended. That needs to stop. His smiling needs to stop. The things you listed need to be improved on and corrected, obviously, as well. But there's just so many little things. Like, for example, something like him picking up all of his opponents. Just, you know, you knock him down, and then you pick him back up. Why? Why the hell are you picking him up? Knock him down, and then knock him down again. Like, it blows my mind, and that's the problem with wrestling in general. But John Cena needs to change everything almost, to be honest with you.
There's a problem when I see 90% of his promos, and I cringe almost. I'm like, I hope someone doesn't walk into the TV room and sees me watching this, because I'm embarrassed. I'm literally embarrassed that I'm watching this. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but the Star Wars promo.
Oh, no, I didn't catch that.
Oh, it's one of the worst written promos you'll ever find. I mean, even like when he was talking to Mark Henry, they having this heated confrontation, and then John Cena goes, "Well, your breath smells like 1,000 asses."
Bravo.
Like, that's supposed to be funny. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be as bad if he was actually funny, but his jokes really miss, and the audience does not react to him. The only person that reacts to him is Cole laughing, who's controlled by Vince McMahon in his headset. That's the only person that's laughing.
Right, I think what they're trying to do is turn him into The Rock, kind of, with his jokes.
Oh, absolutely.
Because The Rock was funny, for a while at least, and then it ran its course, but especially now when he comes back and he's telling his jokes, it's just as bad. It makes me want to vomit everywhere. It's just bad.
Speaking of The Rock, I just don't... I see why they did it, to pop a buy rate, and I don't know. I think you could have got that buy rate even if you didn't do Rock Cena again. I just think Rock's name on the card would bring in a certain fan base to watch WrestleMania. And let's not forget the fact that WrestleMania is always WrestleMania, and it's always going to get around $1 million buys. But you bring in The Rock, and the only person that he puts over is the guy that doesn't need to be put over.
Right, that's the exact problem. I mean, Cena's the same damn way. Who does he put over? Guys that are already over. Hell, he doesn't put over anybody, let's get real.
Tensai. He put over Tensai.
And how did that work?
He should have never went over Cena to begin with.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Great booking.
But he did elevate Punk. You gotta admit that.
Right, he elevated Punk. And how many times did Punk beat him cleanly?
But he was a heel.
I'm just saying, Cena doesn't lose clean to anybody.
He lost clean last week to the Shield.
Okay, once. 7 years? Once? Come on, man.
Coupled to Triple H.
Alright. I'm guessing we can count them on 2 hands. I'm not asking you to count them.
I'm trying to remember a few, but I'll think about it and get back to you.
Alright, sounds good. And if anybody listening wants to count them, get back to us, post it in the comment, like our Facebook page, subscribe to us on YouTube. That would be great as well. And until next time, I'm still Mike Brennan. You're still Kyle Fitta.